Deep within the Gerudo Desert, a giant building stands tall that has been guarding this land from evildoers. A spiritual embodiment of Roman architecture from real life became Hylian architecture, a large colosseum built for gladiatorial battles. This place is called the Arbiter Grounds. Arbiter, in better term, means judge, or in this case, the ones that brings judgment. As the Gerudo vanished without a trace, other than some of them that escaped to a different part of the desert, which we can find in Four Swords Adventures, the Hylians built this place to keep the ones here in prison that once fought over the sacred realm called the Interlopers. But it wasn't only them that they imprisoned here, no. It was also the Gerudo that they imprisoned here. You see, the Arbiter Grounds was not always a prison, but was once the hideout of evil, called the Spirit Temple from Ocarina of Time. Ganondorf established his plans here together with the Gerudo people in order to invade Hyrule and take it all over. But not every Gerudo was fighting for the evil demonic king. Some of them rebelled and fought back. It was Naburu, the spirit sage, that wanted to stop Ganondorf from ever conquering the world, and with their help, Ganondorf was eventually stopped and put into the sacred realm, in a different timeline. This timeline, however, Ganondorf never fought against Link in an epic battle and becoming Ganon. Instead, he was already stopped because of the warning of young Link and put into prison. As punishment for this, the Hyrulean noble family demolished the Spirit Temple before anything could have happened, as it only stood for darkness and despair, and only the statues of the Gerudo tribe remain untouched. With the evil king stopped from doing anything, the Gerudo that worked for him were imprisoned here and had to work for their freedom. This is where the Colosseum comes in. A Colosseum or arena is a large building that allows a large audience to sit and watch people in combat fighting over their lives, while the audience cheers them on. In Twilight Princess, however, it had a different meaning. Here it means that once captured, the ones imprisoned were tortured or slain for what path they had chosen, and so their evil had to be rejected from their bodies, causing many of the slain to become the undead skeletons that we find during the travels within the grounds. The architecture of the grounds is very detailed, with a lot of symbolism to go over. The medallions from Ocarina of Time can be found in certain parts of the temple, indicating a strong sage presence. As the 6 sages had a lot of containing power, they might have been the ones that took full control over every single judgment that was brought here. The grounds are a large combination of a multitude of cultures that form to make this incredible inspired death trap. It is really incredibly difficult to not miss a couple of details from this place, as there are a lot to go over. Why is it so important for the Hylians to make such an eerie place scary? They already had the Shadow Temple that the nobles never even wanted to speak of. Yet 100 to a few 100 years later, they just let it happen again. Well, this is because of the simple mixture of cultures. As the Egyptians, which are obviously the Gerudo, once believed that the soul had to be cleansed and protected by mummifying it, the Hylians took this idea and bonded that with their own culture, causing a mishmash of torture devices and statues across the whole temple. And then up top of that, we also have Japanese Shinto religion fused within the temple. In one room, there is a very large sword in the middle of a large room, and this sword lies within a circle of some kind of ritualistic seal, guarded by things that are called ofuda. These ofuda are amulets, created to block or to keep something protected from evil spirits. But why would the Hylians want to protect the giant sword from doing something? The amulets are protecting a manifestation of a creature called Death Sword, which you could translate as the spiritual embodiment of death itself. This being was used to punish the wicked within this temple. He was the one doing all the dirty work to put all the sinners to death. And once all the prisoners got killed or died by his or other meaningful hands, the Hylians put him back in his resting place by putting a spell on him, which is the giant seal under the sword. Only the sages or Zelda had such power to do anything relatable to this mess. A strange device called the spinner can be found within this temple. The Hylians might have been great stoneworkers or builders, but they did not have great technological insights. This is where the last remaining Sheikah came in, to create traps that had to stop anyone from coming into the temple. However, they did not create these traps from their own minds. They reused the ideas that the Gerudo once had and turned it against them. The spinner is a device that allows Link to climb incredible heights by going onto some sort of spinner roadway that can only be accessed by the spinner. This means that the device was somehow really needed to get to a lot of areas of the temple, so practical wise this wasn't exactly a great idea, unless you don't want anyone to come near you within the building. Obviously the spinner was designed by Nintendo as a gameplay mechanic, but lore-wise, it was one of the best ways to keep invaders out of your business. But the spinner was not only just a device, it was also a key. In the Arbiter Grounds, we tend to see slots in the shapes of gears that opens up when Link used the spinner to activate them. In my opinion, ever since Skyward Sword and even before that, as I thought about this as a child, these things were designed by the Gerudo because of the ancestry. Some people might argue or find it funny that Grus of all people is the meme of saying that he is the person starting the Gerudo tribe, but I honestly have to agree with all the memes that he is in fact that person. Grus is the total opposite of Link, and he can create machines easily, has red hair, is the jealous version of Link, all indications of the opposite of what a Hylian should not have or be, with the Gerudo being the total opposites of Hylians. Another thing that I find different within the Arbiter Grounds are the symbols we can find that says about Star-Lord, but I never believed this to be Star-Lord at all. When looking at these symbols, we see things that do not exactly make sense. The first symbol is the obvious monster with two large claws. That is not Star-Lord. That is Ganon. The second figure is Link, even though you could argue that Link doesn't have weird pointy things on its head. It is a mural. It's not supposed to be 100% accurate. The third symbol, which seems to have weird circle-ish things going up into the sky and triangles downwards. These are houses set on fire, and the circle-ish things are representing smoke. And here we have the fourth symbol that makes my head spin. To me it seems to look like 3 towers, but there are no towers in Ocarina of Time. There's just one tower in Wind Waker, however, which was the Tower of the Gods. The 3 towers are not actually staying 3 towers, just like the houses on fire. It means 1 tower instead, but just copied and pasted. The last symbols above, when I was younger, I always thought that it meant the way how we play the Ocarina of Time when you see the music notes, but now I believe that it means the flood happening in Wind Waker, with the strange pillars under the waves being Hyrule. Now many years later, it makes sense to me that this clearly means the history of Ocarina of Time, but also that Twilight Princess was supposed to be Wind Waker 2, and that it tells both the stories of Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker. The next symbol is the large eye symbol found on some of the walls. I'm having a hard problem with this symbol because it can be talking about a multitude of things like the Sheikah, but this eye symbol is one I have never seen before until now. In my video called Are the Lizalfos Zonai, I spoke about their symbols. In Twilight Princess, the Lizalfos carry shields that have an eye symbol on them, and it has never appeared in any of the other games. So, why do they have an eye symbol? And why does this one look exactly, if just barely different, like that symbol? It could easily be that somehow the Lizalfos started to slowly evolve into their own sort of faction, and that Twilight Princess was the first in the timeline where the Lizalfos actually became tactical in their way of fighting. It is still one of the many mysteries that this place owns. Another symbol can be found showing a dragon and a large trident. Till this day, this symbol confuses me, because there is not a single enemy that I can think of that has a trident while being a dragon within the timeline of Twilight Princess, which could indicate a possible new enemy that was supposed to show up. It can also have been Star-Lord before he was undead, but where did his trident go? So I want to ask the audience what your ideas and feelings are about that particular symbol. Something else within the temple made its return that we have seen from Ocarina of Time, the 4 posts that guard one particular door. In my Forest Temple video, I showed the 4 posts that guarded the elevator downwards, which was the puzzle of the Forest Temple. There, I explained that the number 4 is the indication of bad luck, and even worse, death. Therefore, that number in some Asian countries, people avoid it in order, well, to not die. It seems, together with all the Hylian architecture that the Hylians love to use, these puzzles are some sort of luck. Lots of people believe that the temple was built in conjecture with the Gerudo, but to me, this was never the case. The Gerudo alphabet might be written all over the temple, but it is not designed for the Gerudos, but designed to tell the Gerudos that their fate was sealed. The Hylians and Gerudo did work together at times, but it was in Ocarina of Time that this relationship between the two was broken down, causing one part of the Gerudo tribe to flee and the other to be punished. This relationship eventually restored itself many years later when we had to fight the new Ganondorf that we found in Four Swords Adventures. Throughout our journey through the temple, we keep finding the snake goddess statues that I call Nagas in my video, the Spirit Temple, and it seems that these statues have changed a little bit. Standing in many different positions, these statues now have a larger snake trying to bite the person in front of them. Throughout the series, we have never seen anything or been told what this statue means, but it was told that the Hylians did not like these statues because it was a religion that was against theirs. Not even Star-Lord looks to have any sort of connection with the Gerudo. The statues also lost their red jewels and their armor. What they did not lose is their divination to fire. These statues still seem to worship fire, or Din, the Triforce of power. According to some players, the Gerudo have always been good, but they had to fight for Ganondorf instead of choosing for his allegiance. But if that is the case, why do the Gerudo still worship fire, something that was supposed to be linked to the power and strength, to evil purposes back from ancient times? The spinner is also now a part of their religion, as it is an ancient device, and above the chest where the spinner sits in, a large gear that looks like a sun symbol, the ultimate symbol for fire, can clearly be seen. When reaching the end of the temple, the place where Twilight Princess all began, we encounter the last statue, hiding the Mirror of Twilight. This dark mirror, which you could see as one of the same mirrors that created Dark Link many times throughout the series, as I always believed the word Twilight meant shadow or dark, creating the term Dark Mirror. This was also the mirror that was used as the punishment of banishment for all the interlopers that tried to tackle the Sacred Realm. It was not supposed to be the punishment for Ganondorf though, as that was the punishment of death. But I'm afraid that the goddesses helped the leader of the interlopers, as I believe the interlopers did not in fact carry their battle on their own as some sort of small group, no. I believe that Ganondorf was always the leader since the start. As young Link warned Zelda of what was about to come, the Hyrulean family tried to capture Ganondorf, with the interlopers trying to prevent this from happening. This didn't happen in an instant. This all took several hundred years before they got stopped. And when Ganondorf was finally captured, ready to be executed, the goddesses felt that this was not how his fate was supposed to go. Instead of having him to die, they gave him the Triforce of power, in order for him to escape. There is not a single other way for Ganondorf to have obtained this piece of the Triforce, as he was captured, and was never able to carry out his plans. He was stopped before this was possible, letting me to believe that the goddesses are also nothing more than sitting in the arena, cheering on the fate of Hyrule as a means of entertainment. Because of them helping him, he eventually started the entire Twilight Princess storyline, causing the invasion of Hyrule by Zend, the creation of the Twilight Realm by having him guiding the interlopers, and to have himself killed at the end of the game, which maybe, very maybe, cause himself to appear in Breath of the Wild 2, setting in motion another large storyline for Hyrule to face. Hey everybody, thank you all for watching and listening to the video. We almost reached 1500 subscribers. I just need 20 or more to start a Q&A, so that should be very easy to do. I hope you have your questions ready. And when I do reach 1500, as I promised that of course, I will create a community post for your Q&A. And by the way, follow me on Twitter as well, so you can talk to me on there. I always reply back. So yes, I'm also reading this, by the way, I'm just saying. So yeah, thank you again, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.